Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Lesson number 42, Past Preterit, verb number 4 versus Past Imperfect, verb number 5. Well, we know that there are three time frames in life, no matter what country you're in. We have the present, we have the past, and the future. And out of our 10 things you can do with a verb, verb number 0 is the infinitive, you leave it alone. Verb number 1 is the ando, yendo, the ing form. Verb number 2 is the ado, ido, the past participle, the ed form. Verb number 3 is the present tense, right? Verb number 4 is the past preterit, which we have here. Verb number 5 is the past imperfect, which we have here. So there are two past tenses. We have the verb number 4 and verb number 5, the preterit versus the imperfect. Now, just in general, from what you can gather and what you've learned through your prior lessons and your current knowledge that you bring with you into this program, the preterit is used for something that happened, like we won the ball game, it rained, she celebrated her birthday, he earned a lot of money last summer, she was born yesterday, I fell down, it broke, I heard the song, I saw the movie, I bought a car, I ate dinner, I was late to work, I got up early, I went to bed late. Things basically, one-time things that happen, bang, bang, they're over. We call that a completed past action. When you say I went to work, you're referring to the totality. You're not saying I was going to work. If you say I was going to work, that's not a completed past action. It's a completed past action. We painted the house. It's done, it's over, it's completed. So we use it for completed past actions. Something that happened and is over and done. I painted the house, it's over and done. If you want to say I washed the dishes, okay? It's over and done. That's preterit. Something that happened once, like oops, it fell, it broke, preterit. The dog barked when I came to the door. It's over, it's done. What someone did once, okay, like we said before, what happened once or what someone did once. What happened once? The car's bumper fell off. That's preterit. I got a flat tire in front of the house. That's preterit. That's not something that happened all the time. Also, we use verb number 4 to summarize and list accomplishments in the past. So if you want to say what someone did in his or her lifetime, that would be in the preterit as well. But let's get our eyes off the PDF and let's just listen for a moment. The preterit is just an awesome verb tense. We use it to say, like in sports, like she scored a goal, he hit a home run, she stole second base, we won the ball game, Ben Roethlisberger threw for 5 touchdown passes. When you list things that happened yesterday or last night or this morning or last week, that's preterit, okay? So preterit is for a completed past action. You're referring to it, it's over, it's done, something you did or something happened, like especially like one time. Although you could say, I went to the movies 10 times last summer, fui al cine 10 veces el verano pasado. You're summarizing and saying how many times that you went, okay? Now let's get over to the imperfect, verb number 5. It's a contrast. And as we understand the imperfect a little, a lot, and completely, then you'll start to see the contrast between the preterit and the imperfect, okay? So let this evolve, let this develop. You're going to get a feel for preterit or imperfect, and more than likely you're going to get really good at this. All right, the imperfect, verb number 5, is used for an incomplete past action. So if you say like, I was watching TV when you called. Well, I was watching TV. The idea of me watching TV was not completed yet, because when you called, I was still watching TV. I wasn't done. So that's an incomplete past action, okay? If you say, I was 12 years old when I went to Disneyland for the first time, or Disney World, well, you weren't done being 12 years old, right? At the time you were 12, that's an incomplete past action, okay? Something that was still happening and not over when being referred to, like I was driving home when I saw the accident. Well, I was driving home. Conducía or manejaba a la casa. That's imperfect because you're referring to an action when it was still in progress in the past or it was not completed. But when you say I was driving home, conducía a la casa, cuando vi un accidente, vi is preterit because that's something that happened. You're referring to it in its totality. I was driving home, you were still driving home, and bam, that got interrupted by you seeing an accident preterite. It also says here what used to happen. Okay, what used to happen, like it would rain every Saturday morning. Llovía todos los sábados. We would go to church every Sunday. Íbamos a la iglesia todos los domingos. My mom would always call me at 5 o'clock. Mi mamá siempre me llamaba a las 5. For something that used to happen or would always happen in the past, that's imperfect. What one used to do. I used to walk to school when I was a little kid. Cuando era niño, caminaba a la escuela. Even era is an imperfect, verb number 5. Why? Because when you would walk to school, it's not like you turned 5. When you were 5 years old, every day, when you were 5, right, you get up and walk to school. Cuando tenía 5 años, cuando era niño, when I was a kid, it's all imperfect. Caminaba a la escuela, I would walk to school. You also use it for what you would do in the past. Now, we've mentioned before, there are 3 ways of looking at would. If you want to say what you would do today, that's a conditional. Verb number 7, we'll get to that. If you want to say what you would do in the future, okay, that's also verb number 7. However, if you want to say what you would do like all the time in the past, that's verb number 5, the imperfect, like I would always eat ice cream during the weekend. Siempre comía helados durante el fin de semana. We would always listen to music in our free time. Siempre escuchábamos música en nuestro tiempo libre. I would always play soccer with my buddies. Siempre jugaba al fútbol soccer con mis amigos. My mom would always make hamburgers on Fridays. Mi mamá siempre preparaba hamburguesas los viernes. My dad would always talk about sports. Mi papá siempre hablaba de los deportes. To say what you would do in the past, that is verb number 5, imperfect. Okay? Now, let's see what else we have here. What always happened, the church clock would ring every hour. El reloj de la iglesia sonaba cada hora. Or el reloj de la iglesia daba la hora cada hora. What one always did. If you want to say like, I went to the movies every weekend. You're not referring to one time, that would be preterite. Fui al cine. Like I went to the movies last week would be fui al cine la semana pasada. But if you say, I always went to the movies, you're talking about all the time, multiple times. That would be siempre iba al cine durante los fines de semana. We also use it for past age. You want to say how old you were when something happened. It's always tenía. When I was 5, cuando yo tenía 5 años. When my dad was 30, cuando mi papá tenía 30 años. When my sister was 17, cuando mi hermana tenía 17 años. And the reason is because if you refer to an age as to when something happened, like I was 20 when I got my driver's license. Tenía 20 años cuando saqué mi licencia de conducir. They were 25 when they got married. Tenían 25 años cuando se casaron. They were not only 25 years old the day they got married, but before and after. That's an incomplete past action. Colors. Okay, if you want to say the house used to be yellow, era amarilla. La casa era amarilla. Era. Not fue, era. Colors in the past would be era. Size. It was big. Era grande. It was humongous. Era enorme. It was really small. Era muy pequeño. Why? Because let's say you're talking about a bedroom that you used to live in, right? And you say, wow, mi cuarto, mi habitación era muy chiquito, muy pequeño. Era muy pequeño. Why era? Because day in and day out, every time you went by that room, it was small. It just wasn't small for an instant, for one day. It was small day in and day out. That is era. Okay, let's go to weights. It weighed a lot. Pesaba mucho. It just didn't weigh a lot for an instant. Pesaba mucho. Like if you're talking about, let's say a tool, a specific tool, like a car jack. Oh, Lord. Pesaba muchísimo. It really weighed a ton. Measurements. If you want to say it was 2 feet. Medía 2 pies. Okay? Medía 2 pies. Here's a big one right here. When you say a person's name in the past, you'd say like her or his name was, it would be se llamaba. Remember, in the present tense, his name is se llama. He calls himself se llama, or su nombre es. But in Spanish, we would say se llamaba. He called himself all the time in the past, repeated past action in the past all the time. Not one time, all the time, se llamaba. His name was Michael. Su nombre era Michael, era Miguel. And to describe people, places, and things in the past, like people like, oh, he was a nice dude, he was a nice guy. Era muy simpático. She was a good person. Era buena persona. That girl was honest. Esa chica era honesta. Places like, it was a good place for dinner. Era un gran lugar para comer la cena. It was a big stadium. Era un estadio muy grande. Something that you used to do all the time as a kid. Disneyland was a lot of fun. Disneyland era muy divertido. So again, you start to develop a feel for the preterite and the imperfect. Not so much memorizing, right? You're getting the idea that things like a car crash or a jar falling down and breaking, or someone slipping and falling, or getting a good grade on a test, or buying a car, selling a house, seeing a movie, hearing music. You get the idea that these one-time things that you did, that's preterite. You just say what you did yesterday. I did this, I did that. Fui a la tienda, I went to the store. I ate with my family. Comí con mi familia. I read a book, leí un libro. I studied for a test, estudié para un examen. I saw a movie, vi una película. All of that is preterite. That's common, everyday stuff. But the imperfect is for something that you used to do all the time in the past. Like, I would play sports, jugaba deportes. Something that you would do all the time as well in the past. Like, I would always eat ice cream. Siempre comía helado, right? Referring to an action that was incomplete, not over. It was still happening. Like, for example, I was driving home when? Conducía or manejaba a la casa cuando. I was 5 years old when? Tenía 5 años cuando. So you start to get a feel. So things that you would do all the time in the past, that you did over and over again in the past, things that happened all the time in the past, things that you used to do in the past all the time, or things that in the past weren't over yet, they were still happening, they were incomplete. That is imperfect, and preterite is what we just mentioned before. Now, as we go forward, we'll start mentioning, when we come across examples in the preterite and the imperfect, I will try to make a point and point out to you which it is and then why. And then we will become much more skilled through practice, not through study and memorization, but through practice. All right, that'll do it. Past preterite, verb number 4 versus past imperfect, verb number 5. Hasta la próxima lección. This is Profesor Pablo signing off. Cambio fuera.